The emergency beacon cut through the void like a scream in the dark. Captain Sarah of the UES Defiance felt her heart skip as the translation matrix decoded the alien signal flooding their communications array. The bridge crew went silent, their faces pale in the blue glow of holographic displays. "Ma'am, it's coming from the 442 system," Lieutenant reported, his voice tight with tension. "Distance approximately 47 light-years. The signal is, it's repeating every 30 seconds. Moved to the central command console, her weathered hands gripping the metal surface. At 52, she had seen humanity's first steps into the galaxy, witnessed the moment they discovered they were not alone. The universe was filled with life, but most of it viewed humans as barbaric monsters from a death world. Earth, with its crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, and endless natural disasters, had forged humans into something the galaxy feared. "Play the message again," she commanded. The alien voice filled the bridge, speaking in the melodic tones of the language. The translation came through their universal communicators. "This is Research Station Harmony 7. We are under attack by the Devourers. Our shields are failing. Please, anyone who receives this message, we have children here, civilians, scientists studying peaceful applications of quantum resonance. We are not military. We cannot defend ourselves. Please help us." The message was followed by what sounded like explosions and screaming, before cutting to static. Tactical Officer Commander pulled up a holographic display of the sector. "Captain, according to our intelligence, the Devourers are a nomadic species that consumes entire civilizations. They strip mine planets and use the populations as food sources. The Galactic Council has been fighting them for decades, but they're losing ground." "How many ships do we have in range?" asked. "Just us, ma'am. The nearest Alliance fleet is 6 months away at maximum warp." Studied the data streaming across her screens. They were a peaceful species, known throughout the galaxy for their advances in medicine and their beautiful crystal cities. They had never harmed anyone, dedicating their existence to scientific research and artistic expression. The thought of them being slaughtered by the Devourers made her stomach turn. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving another transmission. This one is directed specifically at us." The new voice was different, mechanical, and cold. It spoke in broken galactic standard. "Human vessel, we know you monitor frequencies. You flee now or join the feast. Your kind not welcome in civilized space. Return to Death World before we make you extinct." The Devourer transmission was accompanied by visual feeds from their assault on the station. Watched in horror as massive, creatures tore through the facility's delicate crystal structures. The beings that looked like living starlight with gossamer wings were being hunted through the corridors of their own home. "Ma'am," said quietly, "the crew is requesting permission to respond to the distress call." Looked around the bridge. Every face showed the same expression of grim determination. These were humans who had volunteered for deep space exploration, knowing they might never see Earth again. They had signed up to represent humanity among the stars, even though most aliens viewed them as dangerous primitives. "You all understand what this means," she said slowly. "The Galactic Council has made it clear that humanity is not welcome in their conflicts. If we intervene, we'll be acting without authorization from Earth Command. We could start an interstellar incident." "With respect, Captain," spoke up, "we've been trying to prove to the galaxy that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. Here's our chance to show them what we're really capable of." Pulled up the tactical analysis of the 442 system. The Devourer fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and dozens of smaller attack vessels. Their technology was older than human designs, but proven in countless battles. The Defiance was a single exploration vessel, armed for self-defense, but not built for combat against an entire fleet. "The smart play is to report this to Earth Command and let the proper authorities handle it," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Captain," her science officer, Doctor, interrupted. "I'm detecting massive quantum fluctuations from the station's position. If the Devourers are using their standard tactics, they'll begin harvesting the station's population within the hour. They don't have that long." Another transmission came through, this time clearly from a child. "Please, someone help us. The dark ships are everywhere. Mama says to hide, but there's nowhere to go. I'm scared. Why won't anyone help us?" The bridge fell silent again, closed her eyes, thinking of her own daughter back on Earth. She thought of every human parent who had ever looked at their child and sworn to protect them from the monsters in the dark. All right, people, she said, opening her eyes with new resolve. Signal the engine room. Tell them to prepare for combat acceleration. Helm, set course for 442 maximum velocity. Ma'am, at full burn, we can reach the system in 18 hours, the helmsman reported. Too long, muttered. Engineering, prepare for emergency jump protocol. I know it's dangerous, but we need to be there now. The emergency jump was a last resort method of faster-than-light travel that could tear a ship apart if performed incorrectly. Human engineers had developed it during the early days of space exploration, when every second counted for survival. Captain said carefully, even if we arrive in time, we're one ship against an entire Devourer fleet. The odds are. The odds are exactly what you'd expect when humans get involved, interrupted with a grim smile. Begin emergency jump sequence and send a message to that station. Tell them help is coming. As the Defiance's engines began to whine with dangerous harmonics, felt the familiar weight of command settle on her shoulders. Humanity had been cast out of galactic civilization for being too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Today, she would show the universe exactly why that reputation existed. The jump drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing apart. The Defiance vanished from normal space, hurtling toward a confrontation that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Behind them, the distress signals continued to echo through the void, carrying the desperate pleas of innocents who had no idea that the monsters they feared were about to meet the monsters the entire galaxy feared even more. The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace with a violent shudder that sent sparks cascading from overloaded conduits. Emergency klaxons wailed as damage control teams scrambled to repair systems pushed beyond their limits. Captain gripped her command chair as the main flickered to life, revealing the horror unfolding in the 442 system. Research Station Harmony 7 hung in space like a dying flower. Its once magnificent crystal spires were shattered, bleeding atmosphere and debris into the void. Devourer ships swarmed around it like carrion feeders, their black hulls bristling with weapons that poured destruction into the helpless facility. Tactical report, demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos on the bridge. Commander's fingers danced across his console, pulling up real-time analysis of the enemy fleet. 12 heavy cruisers, 36 attack corvettes, and what looks like a command dreadnought. They've got the station completely surrounded. I'm reading massive hull breaches on all sections of the facility. Life signs? Doctor asked, her hands trembling as she worked her sensors. Still detecting approximately 800 aboard the station. They're huddled in the central core, but the Devourers are cutting through the bulkheads, maybe 20 minutes before they reach the survivors. Studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. The smart military decision was obvious. Retreat, report the situation, and let someone else handle it. But the screams still echoing from the station's emergency broadcasts made that option impossible. Communications, patch me through to the Devourer command ship, she ordered. Lieutenant looked up in surprise. Ma'am, are you sure that's wise? Probably not, do it anyway. The shifted to show the bridge of the Devourer dreadnought. The creature that appeared made several bridge crew members recoil in disgust. The Devourer commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, its exoskeleton black as space, and riddled with scars from countless battles. Multiple eyes glowed with predatory hunger above mandibles that dripped with acidic saliva. Human vessel, the alien hissed in broken galactic standard. You arrived too late to save prey. Withdraw or become feast. Rose from her command chair, projecting every ounce of authority she possessed. I am Captain Sarah of the United Earth ship Defiance. You will cease your attack on the research station and withdraw from this system immediately. The Devourer commander's multiple eyes focused on her with something resembling amusement. One small ship thinks to threaten Hive Lord. Your species lives on Deathworld, yes? You know of natural selection. Weak must feed strong. This is way of universe. They are civilians, scientists and children. They pose no threat to anyone. Children make good food, replied with obvious satisfaction. Soft flesh, fear makes meat tender. The casual cruelty of the statement made blood run cold. She had faced down pirates and hostile alien fleets, but nothing had prepared her for the pure evil radiating from the creature before her. Final warning, she said, her voice deadly quiet. Release the survivors and withdraw or face the consequences. His mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Human death think themselves fierce? You survived one planet of predators. We have devoured civilizations across 1,000 worlds. Your tiny ship will be dessert after we finish feast. The transmission cut off, leaving staring at static. Around her, the bridge crew waited for orders, their faces grim but determined. "Ma'am," said quietly, "they're resuming their assault on the station. Hull breach in progress on Deck 7. That's where most of the civilian shelters are located." Closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself the way her father had taught her before his final mission to the Martian colonies. When she opened them again, her expression was that of a predator who had just decided to hunt. "All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. We are engaging a numerically superior enemy force to protect innocent civilians. I won't lie to you about our chances, but I will tell you this. Today, we show the universe what humans do when children are threatened." The Defiance's combat systems came online with mechanical precision. Weapon ports opened along the hull, revealing pulse cannons and missile launchers designed by Earth's finest military engineers. The ship's AI began calculating firing solutions with the cold efficiency that had made human military technology legendary throughout the galaxy. Helm attack pattern Alpha 7, maximum acceleration toward the station. Weapons target the lead corvette squadron. "Ma'am, they're hailing us again," reported. "Put them through." This time appeared genuinely puzzled. "Human captain, you have one ship, we have 50. Your death serves no purpose." "You're wrong about that," replied. "My death serves a very specific purpose. It tells every species in this galaxy that when innocent people call for help, humans will answer, even if it kills us." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Fire." The Defiance's opening salvo lit up space with brilliant energy. Human pulse cannons, designed to punch through the armor of Earth's most dangerous predators, tore into the nearest Devourer corvette. The alien ship's shields flared and died, its hull rupturing in a cascade of explosions. "Direct hit, enemy corvette destroyed," shouted over the noise of battle. The Devourer fleet responded immediately, dozens of ships turning their weapons toward the lone human vessel. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled the space around the Defiance as crew fought with the desperate skill of cornered humans. "Evasive maneuvers, return fire on the heavy cruisers," commanded. The Defiance danced through space with an agility that surprised the enemy fleet. Human ships were built to survive in the chaos of Earth's asteroid belt and the radiation storms of Jupiter's magnetosphere. What the Devourers saw as reckless piloting was actually the careful application of skills learned in humanity's most dangerous environments. Another corvette died under the Defiance's guns, then another. But the return fire was taking its toll. Explosions rocked the human ship as alien weapons found their mark. "Hull breach on Deck 3, shields down to 60%, reported. "Damage control teams to Deck 3, continue firing." Through it all, the Devourer assault on the research station continued. Watched helplessly as another section of the facility was breached, knowing that hundreds of innocents were fighting for their lives in the corridors beyond. "Captain," Doctor called out urgently, "I'm detecting something odd. The Devourers are pulling back some of their ships from the station." "Pulling back, why?" "Unknown, but they're forming a defensive perimeter around their command ship. It's almost like they're afraid." Studied the tactical display as a terrible understanding began to dawn on her. The galaxy knew humans as death, survivors of a planet that had tried to kill them for millions of years. But they had never seen humans in actual combat against overwhelming odds. "They've never fought humans before," she realized aloud. "They've heard the stories, but they've never actually seen us fight." As if to confirm her theory, intercepted Devourer communications began flooding through the translation matrix. The alien voices carried something had never heard from them before: uncertainty. Human ship displays unknown combat patterns. Weapons technology exceeds tactical projections. Crew shows no fear response to numerical disadvantage. Request immediate reinforcement from secondary fleet. For the first time in the battle, allowed herself a grim smile. The Devourers were learning what every predator on Earth had eventually discovered. Sometimes the prey fights back, and sometimes the prey was more dangerous than you ever imagined. The battle had been raging for 40 minutes when everything changed. Captain watched her tactical display with growing amazement as the Devourer fleet began to show signs of something she had never seen before: hesitation. "Ma'am, they're actually retreating some of their forward squadrons," Commander reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "The corvettes that were pressing our flanks are pulling back to defensive positions." The Defiance had lost 30% of its hull plating and most of its secondary weapons, but it continued to fight with the desperate ferocity of a cornered animal. Human engineering had built redundancies into every system, and human stubbornness kept those systems running long past their intended limits. "How many enemy ships have we destroyed?" asked, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead where a console had exploded. 7 corvettes and 2 heavy cruisers confirmed destroyed. 3 more cruisers showing severe damage, but Captain, we're running low on ammunition for the main guns. Nodded grimly. They had hurt the enemy, but not enough. The research station was still under assault, and the Devourer command ship remained untouched. Through the chaos of battle, she could hear the terrified voices of civilians still broadcasting their desperate pleas for help. "Captain," Doctor suddenly shouted from her science station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Devourer fleet. They're preparing to use their Planet Cracker weapons on the research station." The Planet Cracker was the Devourer's ultimate weapon, a device capable of tearing apart entire worlds. Using it against a space station was like using a sledgehammer to swat a fly, but it would ensure the complete destruction of every living thing aboard the facility. "Time until firing," demanded. 3 minutes, maybe less. Captain, if they fire that weapon, the energy release will destroy us too. We're too close." Stared at the tactical display, her mind racing through increasingly desperate options. They could retreat to a safe distance, but that would abandon the survivors to certain death. They could attempt a suicide run against the command ship, but their remaining weapons wouldn't penetrate its massive shields. Then she noticed something that made her blood freeze. The Devourer fleet wasn't just preparing to destroy the station. They were positioning themselves to retreat immediately afterward. They wanted to eliminate all witnesses to what happened here, including the lone human ship that had dared to interfere. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced over the ship's intercom. "The enemy is preparing to destroy the research station and everyone aboard. Our conventional weapons cannot stop them. I'm authorizing Emergency Protocol 7. Emergency Protocol 7 was something no Earth captain had ever used in actual combat. It was a theoretical last resort that involved overloading the ship's reactor to create an artificial supernova. The energy release would be powerful enough to cripple or destroy ships within several thousand kilometers, but it would also vaporize the Defiance and everyone aboard. "Ma'am," said quietly, "Emergency Protocol 7 has never been tested under combat conditions. The theoretical models suggest a 60% chance of catastrophic failure." "60% chance we die quickly instead of slowly," replied. "I'll take those odds. Begin the overload sequence." As her crew worked to implement the emergency protocol, opened a communication channel to the research station. The face that appeared on her screen was that of a young female, her gossamer features streaked with tears of terror. "This is Captain of the Earth ship Defiance. What's your status?" "Captain, I am Research Director Lyra Song of Distant Stars. We have 637 survivors in the central core, including 43 children. The Devourers have breached our outer defenses. They will reach us within minutes." "Director, I need you to listen carefully. We're going to stop the Devourers, but you need to prepare for massive gravitational disruption. Secure everyone in the deepest part of the station and activate all structural integrity fields." "Captain, how can one ship stop an entire fleet?" Looked at the countdown timer showing 2 minutes until the Planet Cracker weapon fired. "Because we're humans, Director, and humans do impossible things when children are in danger." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Every face on the bridge showed the same expression of grim determination. They knew they were about to die, but they also knew their deaths would have meaning. "Reactor overload at 70% and climbing," the chief engineer reported from his station. "Containment fields are holding, but barely. Helm full speed toward the Devourer command ship. If we're going to do this, we're taking their flagship with us." The Defiance accelerated toward the enemy dreadnought, its damaged hull groaning under the stress. Alarms wailed throughout the ship as the overloading reactor built toward critical mass. Hive Lord appeared on the again, his multiple eyes wide with something approaching panic. Human ship, your reactor signatures indicate imminent overload. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. That's the idea, replied calmly. You wanted to see what death are capable of. This is what we do when you threaten innocence. For the first time in the battle, the Devourer commander's voice carried genuine fear. You cannot sacrifice entire crew for alien civilians. This is madness. No, this is humanity, corrected. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if it costs us everything. The tactical display showed the Defiance closing rapidly on the command ship. Around them, the entire Devourer fleet was frantically trying to retreat to safe distance, but they had positioned themselves too close to the station for their own planet cracker attack. 90% reactor overload, the engineer shouted. 30 seconds to critical mass. All hands prepare for emergency decompression, ordered. It's been an honor serving with you. The Devourer fleet was in full retreat now, abandoning their assault on the research station as they desperately tried to escape the expanding sphere of destruction that would soon erupt from the human ship. But they were too slow, weighted down by their massive vessels, and their assumption that no sane crew would sacrifice themselves for strangers. Reactor critical, hull stress at maximum tolerance. Closed her eyes and thought of her daughter back on Earth, hoping that someday the girl would understand why her mother had made this choice. The Defiance was now less than 500 kilometers from the Devourer command ship, well within the lethal radius of a reactor overload. Then something impossible happened. Captain, Doctor screamed over the alarms. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, unknown configuration. His eyes snapped open to see dozens of new contacts appearing on the tactical display. The ships were sleek and beautiful, constructed from the same crystal technology as the research station. This is Fleet Singer Dawn Upon Crystal of the Defense Corps, a new voice announced over the communications array. Human vessel, you have honored us beyond measure with your sacrifice. Now allow us to return the favor. The warships opened fire with weapons of pure crystallized light. Their beams tore through Devourer shields like paper, causing massive explosions throughout the enemy fleet. The aliens who had seemed unstoppable moments before found themselves caught between the suicidal human ship and the righteous fury of an entire battle fleet. All Devourer vessels, this is your final warning, Fleetsinger continued. Withdraw from this system immediately or face complete destruction. You have attacked our civilians, you have threatened our children, and you have forced our human friends to contemplate the ultimate sacrifice. These crimes will not be tolerated. Stared at the tactical display in amazement. The fleet wasn't large, perhaps 20 ships, but their weapons technology was centuries ahead of anything the Devourers possessed. More importantly, they fought with the same desperate fury that had driven the Defiance to its suicide mission. Engineering emergency shutdown of reactor overload, commanded. We're not dying today after all. The Devourer fleet was collapsing under the combined assault. Several heavy cruisers had already been destroyed, and Hive Lord's command ship was listing badly, atmosphere streaming from multiple hull breaches. All vessels, this is, the Devourer commander's voice was weak and defeated. Tactical withdrawal. Repeat, all vessels tactical withdrawal. Leave the dead, save what can be saved. As the surviving Devourer ships limped away into hyperspace, found herself face to face with Fleet Singer on the main. The commander was ancient by the standards of his species, his crystalline features marked with the scars of countless battles. Captain, said formally, the Confederacy owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. You came when no one else would. You fought when victory was impossible. You were prepared to die to save strangers. We did what anyone would do, replied, though she knew that wasn't true. No, Captain, this is what humans do, and the galaxy will remember. As rescue ships began evacuating survivors from the damaged research station, realized that something fundamental had changed. For decades, humanity had been viewed as dangerous outsiders, barely civilized barbarians from a death world. Today, they had shown the universe something different. They had shown that sometimes, the monsters everyone feared were exactly what the galaxy needed. Days after the battle, the Defiance floated in the shadow of a massive medical frigate, undergoing repairs that should have been impossible with their level of damage. Captain stood in her temporary quarters aboard the alien vessel, staring out at the debris field that marked where the Devourer fleet had made their last stand. Fleetsinger had insisted on providing the best possible care for the human crew, despite protests that they could manage with field repairs. The medical technology was beyond anything Earth possessed, and her injured crew members were healing at rates that bordered on miraculous. "Captain," Commander's voice came through the intercom, "you need to see this. We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy." Made her way to the communications center, where Lieutenant was frantically trying to manage dozens of incoming signals. The displays showed star charts marking the origin points of each transmission, and the pattern made breath catch in her throat. Every major species in the galaxy was trying to contact them. "Start with the closest one," she ordered. The first transmission came from the Trade Consortium, a species known for their strict neutrality and obsession with profit margins. The alien that appeared on screen looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a computer terminal, its translucent form pulsing with bioluminescent calculations. "Human vessel Defiance," the trader spoke in perfect galactic standard. "The consortium wishes to formally request trade negotiations. Your species has demonstrated qualities that suggest profitable long-term partnerships. We offer exclusive access to our hyperdimensional storage matrices in exchange for detailed specifications of your military technology." Cut the transmission without responding and gestured for the next one. A reptilian face appeared from countless battles. "This is General Vexka of the Draconian Military Alliance. We formally request a meeting to discuss joint military exercises. Any species capable of making Devourers retreat with a single ship deserves our respect and attention." The transmissions continued for hours. Species that had never acknowledged humanity's existence were suddenly eager to open diplomatic relations. Trade offers, military alliances, research partnerships, and cultural exchanges flooded their communications array. "Ma'am," said quietly, "there's one more transmission. It's from the Galactic Council itself." Felt her stomach tighten. The Galactic Council had made it clear that humanity was not welcome among the civilized species of the galaxy. Their intervention here, while morally justified, was technically an act of unsanctioned military aggression. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Counselor Seven of Infinite Wisdom, the elected representative of the Council's Military Affairs Committee. The being resembled a crystalline tree, its branches forming complex geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Captain," the counselor began, its voice carrying harmonics that suggested vast intelligence and barely contained irritation, "you have placed the Council in a very difficult position." "Counselor, if this is about unauthorized military action." "This is about the complete disruption of our established protocols," Seven interrupted. "For 73 years, humanity has been classified as a dangerous species, banned from Council space due to your aggressive tendencies and your origin on what our scientists classified as a Class IX death world. This classification was based on careful analysis of your species' psychological profiles and historical behavior patterns. Remained silent, waiting for the inevitable punishment. However," the counselor continued, "recent events have forced us to reconsider our position. The complete destruction of a Devourer fleet by a single human vessel has implications that extend far beyond military capability. More significantly, your crew's willingness to sacrifice themselves for alien civilians they had never met suggests that our psychological profiles may have been incomplete." The transmission paused as Seven's crystalline form shifted into new configurations. When it spoke again, its voice carried undertones of what might have been embarrassment. "The Council hereby formally invites humanity to attend Emergency Session 77 Alpha, to be held at the neutral station Harmony Prime in 14 standard days. The purpose of this session will be to discuss humanity's potential inclusion in the galactic community as a protected species." Blinked in surprise. "Protected species, Counselor." "It has become apparent that while humans are indeed dangerous, you are dangerous to the right entities for the right reasons. The galaxy faces many threats that our current military forces cannot adequately address. The Devourers were only one such threat. Perhaps it is time we stopped fearing the monsters and started befriending them." After the Council transmission ended, found herself back in the observation lounge, watching repair crews work on the Defiance's hull. Fleetsinger materialized beside her in the way that had, stepping out of crystalline light as if he had always been there. "Overwhelming response," the ancient warrior observed, his voice carrying musical undertones that human translators could barely interpret. "The galaxy spent so long being afraid of us that they never stopped to ask why we became so dangerous," replied. "Earth didn't make us violent because it enjoyed cruelty. It made us dangerous because we had to protect each other. And now you have extended that protection to us," said. "My people will not forget this debt, but I suspect you will find that the debt flows both ways." "What do you mean?" Gestured toward the star field beyond the viewport. "Look around you, Captain. 47 different species have contacted you in the past 3 days. Not because they fear you, but because they want to stand beside you. Do you know what that means?" "Thought about it, that maybe we won't have to fight alone anymore." "Exactly. For the first time in galactic history, the prey species are organizing around a predator. Not to hide from you, but to learn from you. You have shown us that sometimes the answer to bigger monsters isn't better hiding places. Sometimes it's finding scarier monsters who are on your side." As if summoned by their conversation, Doctor's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, you need to report to the communications center immediately. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." Made her way back to the communications array, where Admiral Harrison's weathered face filled the main screen. Behind him, she could see the orbital defense platforms of Earth and the familiar blue-green sphere of humanity's home world. "Captain," Admiral Harrison began, "I've been receiving some very interesting calls from alien ambassadors. Apparently, someone has been representing humanity in unauthorized first contact situations." "Admiral, I can explain. Can you explain why 17 different alien species have requested permission to establish embassies on Earth? Can you explain why the Confederacy has offered to share medical technology that could extend human by centuries? Can you explain why the Galactic Council, which has spent the better part of a century treating us like dangerous animals, is suddenly inviting us to join their protected species list?" Remained silent, unsure whether she was about to be court-martialed or commended. Admiral Harrison's stern expression suddenly broke into a wide grin. "Because if you can, I'd very much like to hear it. What you and your crew accomplished out there has changed everything for our species, Captain. The galaxy is no longer asking whether humans belong among the stars. They're asking whether they're worthy to stand beside us." As the transmission ended, looked around at her crew. They had started this mission as explorers from a world that nobody wanted. They were ending it as the representatives of a species that suddenly everyone wanted as an ally. "Ma'am," said quietly, "incoming transmission from the research station. Director Lyra wants to speak with you personally." The young researcher appeared on screen, her crystalline features bright with gratitude and something that might have been wonder. "Captain," Lyra began, her musical voice trembling with emotion, "I wanted you to know that the 43 children you saved have asked if they could send you something. A gift from their families to yours." "Director, that's not necessary. We did what anyone would do." "No, Captain, you did what humans do. And now all of our children know that when the monsters come, there are bigger monsters who will fight for them. That is a gift beyond price." Felt tears building in her eyes as she realized the full scope of what they had accomplished. They had not just saved lives. They had fundamentally changed how an entire galaxy viewed humanity. They had turned the human reputation for violence into a shield that would protect the innocent throughout the stars. 6 months after the Battle of Harmony 7, Captain stood on the observation deck of Harmony Prime Station, watching the most remarkable diplomatic gathering in galactic history unfold before her eyes. The neutral station had been expanded 3 times to accommodate the unprecedented attendance at Emergency Session 77 Alpha. Representatives from over 200 species filled the Great Assembly Hall, their diverse forms creating a tapestry of life that description. Crystalline sat beside mechanical, while gas-form ethereals shared space with the massive rock creatures of the Titan worlds. But the most remarkable sight was the delegation from Earth. Admiral Harrison led the human contingency, flanked by diplomats, scientists, and military advisors who represented the best of humanity. Behind them sat the crew of the Defiance, still bearing the scars from their desperate battle against impossible odds. "I never imagined I would see this day," Admiral Harrison had whispered to before the session began. "Humans sitting as equals among the galactic community. Hell, more than equals. Half these species want us to lead their defense initiatives. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change for humanity. The Confederacy had shared medical technology that revolutionized human healthcare. The Trade Consortium had opened markets that brought prosperity to human colonies across the frontier. Most significantly, 43 different species had requested human military advisors to help prepare their defenses against threats like the Devourers. Counselor 7 of Infinite Wisdom called the session to order, its crystalline form shifting into patterns that indicated solemn ceremony. We gather today to address a fundamental error in our understanding of the species known as humanity, the counselor announced, its voice carrying across the vast chamber. For 73 years, we have classified them as dangerous primitives, unsuitable for inclusion in civilized galactic society. Recent events have demonstrated that while humans are indeed dangerous, they represent exactly the kind of danger the galaxy requires. 7 gestured toward the human delegation. Captain Sarah and the crew of the UES Defiance have shown us what it means to protect the innocent at any cost. They have redefined what we consider civilized behavior. The counselor's form shifted again, taking on configurations that suggested deep embarrassment. It has become clear that our definition of civilization was incomplete. We valued peace, learning, and cultural advancement, but we forgot that these achievements are only possible when someone is willing to fight for them. A new voice joined the conversation as Fleet Singer materialized at the center of the assembly hall. The ancient warrior bore new scars from recent battles, evidence that the galaxy's dangers had not diminished since Harmony 7. "Honored representatives," began, his musical voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "I speak for all species who have faced annihilation at the hands of galactic predators. The Devourers were not our only threat. The Void Stalkers continue their expansion through the Outer Rim. The machine plague consumes entire star systems in the Andromeda approach. For too long, we have faced these threats with hope and prayer rather than strength and determination." He turned toward the human delegation, his crystalline features reflecting respect and gratitude. "Humanity offers us something we have never possessed, the will to face monsters and win. They do not fight because they enjoy violence. They fight because others cannot. This is not barbarism. This is the highest form of civilization." Admiral Harrison rose to address the assembly, his weathered face showing the gravity of the moment. "Honored counselors, representatives of the galactic community, humanity accepts your invitation to join the Galactic Council as a protected species, but we would like to propose a modification to that designation." A murmur ran through the assembly, as species that had existed waited to hear what the Death had to say. "We propose the creation of a new classification, Guardian Species, not protected but protecting. Humanity asks for the privilege of standing watch over the galaxy's peaceful civilizations. When the monsters come, we will meet them. When the innocent are threatened, we will answer their call." The chamber fell silent as representatives considered this unprecedented offer. Never in galactic history had a species volunteered to serve as protectors for others without seeking political dominance in return. "Furthermore," Admiral Harrison continued, "we propose the establishment of joint military academies where human tactical knowledge can be shared with volunteers from all allied species. We have learned much from our mistakes on Earth. Perhaps it is time the galaxy learned from them as well." Counselor 7's crystalline form brightened noticeably. "This proposal represents a fundamental shift in galactic governance. Are there any objections to humanity's guardian species designation?" The response was overwhelming. Species after species rose to voice their support for the human proposal. The Draconian Military Alliance offered their shipyards for joint construction projects. The Ethereal Collective proposed sharing their advanced sensor technology. Even the traditionally isolationist hive minds expressed interest in defensive alliances. But it was a small voice from the gallery that truly captured the moment's significance. Director Lyrisong of Distant Stars stood among the observers, her young face bright with hope. "Honored Council," she said, her musical voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I was present at Research Station Harmony 7 when humanity answered our call for help. I watched them fight impossible odds to save strangers they had never met. I saw them prepare to sacrifice everything for our children." She paused, looking directly at Captain. "But most importantly, I saw what happens when someone finally fights back against the dark. The monsters that have terrorized the galaxy ran away. They ran because they had finally met something more dangerous than they were. The young scientist's voice grew stronger. I speak for every child who was saved that day, and for every child who will never have to fear the dark because humanity stands watch. We vote to accept Earth's guardian species proposal. The formal vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, an entire species had been designated as protectors of interstellar civilization. As the session concluded and delegates began to disperse, found herself alone with Fleet Singer on the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see human ships already beginning to patrol the space around Harmony Prime. "Do you think we can live up to their expectations?" asked. Consider the question carefully. Captain, 6 months ago, a single human ship charged into battle against impossible odds to save alien civilians. Today, humanity has accepted responsibility for protecting an entire galaxy. I believe you have already answered your own question. He gestured toward the star field beyond the station. Look out there. Every light you see represents a world where families sleep safely because they know humans are watching. Every species that once feared you now trusts you with their children's lives. That transformation did not happen because of politics or treaties. It happened because when the universe's innocence called for help, humanity answered. Thought about her daughter back on Earth, growing up in a galaxy where humans were no longer outcasts but guardians. She thought about the children who would never know the terror of helplessness because monsters had learned to fear bigger monsters. "The funny thing is," she said quietly, "we never wanted to be the scary ones. We just wanted to protect the people we cared about. And that, Captain, is precisely why the galaxy trusts you to be scary on their behalf. You fight not because you love violence, but because you love peace enough to defend it." As if summoned by their conversation, Admiral Harrison's voice came through the station's intercom system. "All human personnel, this is Admiral Harrison. I've just received word that we're receiving multiple distress calls from the Vega sector. Unknown hostiles are attacking civilian shipping in that region." Straightened, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "Looks like duty calls." "It always does," agreed. "But now when it calls, the galaxy knows humanity will answer." Made her way toward the docking bays, where the newly repaired Defiance waited alongside a small fleet of human guardian vessels. As she passed through the corridors of Harmony Prime, she noticed something that filled her with quiet pride. Alien children no longer ran away when they saw human uniforms. Instead, they approached with wide eyes full of wonder and gratitude. They had learned that the scary humans were their scary humans, and that made all the difference. The future stretched out before humanity like an infinite sea of stars. Somewhere in that vastness, monsters still lurked in the dark spaces between worlds, preying on the innocent and the helpless. But they would find their hunting grounds increasingly contested. The Death had finally found their place among the stars, and that place was standing between the light and the dark, ensuring that the galaxy's children could sleep safely in their beds. When the monsters came, humanity would be waiting. And the monsters were learning to be afraid. The emergency beacon cut through the void like a scream in the dark. Captain Sarah of the UES Defiance felt her heart skip as the translation matrix decoded the alien signal flooding their communications array. The bridge crew went silent, their faces pale in the blue glow of holographic displays. "Ma'am, it's coming from the 442 system," Lieutenant reported, his voice tight with tension. "Distance approximately 47 light years. The signal is, it's repeating every 30 seconds. Moved to the central command console, her weathered hands gripping the metal surface. At 52, she had seen humanity's first steps into the galaxy, witnessed the moment they discovered they were not alone. The universe was filled with life, but most of it viewed humans as barbaric monsters from a death world. Earth, with its crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, and endless natural disasters, had forged humans into something the galaxy feared. "Play the message again," she commanded. The alien voice filled the bridge, speaking in the melodic tones of the language. The translation came through their universal communicators. "This is Research Station Harmony 7. We are under attack by the Devourers. Our shields are failing. Please, anyone who receives this message, we have children here, civilians, scientists studying peaceful applications of quantum resonance. We are not military. We cannot defend ourselves. Please help us." The message was followed by what sounded like explosions and screaming before cutting to static. Tactical Officer Commander pulled up a holographic display of the sector. Captain, according to our intelligence, the Devourers are a nomadic species that consumes entire civilizations. They strip mine planets and use the populations as food sources. The Galactic Council has been fighting them for decades, but they're losing ground. "How many ships do we have in range?" asked. "Just us, ma'am. The nearest Alliance fleet is 6 months away at maximum warp." Studied the data streaming across her screens. They were a peaceful species, known throughout the galaxy for their advances in medicine and their beautiful crystal cities. They had never harmed anyone, dedicating their existence to scientific research and artistic expression. The thought of them being slaughtered by the Devourers made her stomach turn. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving another transmission. This one is directed specifically at us." The new voice was different, mechanical, and cold. It spoke in broken galactic standard. "Human vessel, we know you monitor frequencies. You flee now or join the feast. Your kind not welcome in civilized space. Return to Deathworld before we make you extinct." The Devourer transmission was accompanied by visual feeds from their assault on the station. Watched in horror as massive, creatures tore through the facility's delicate crystal structures. The beings that looked like living starlight with gossamer wings were being hunted through the corridors of their own home. "Ma'am," said quietly, "the crew is requesting permission to respond to the distress call." Looked around the bridge. Every face showed the same expression of grim determination. These were humans who had volunteered for deep space exploration, knowing they might never see Earth again. They had signed up to represent humanity among the stars, even though most aliens viewed them as dangerous primitives. "You all understand what this means," she said slowly. "The Galactic Council has made it clear that humanity is not welcome in their conflicts. If we intervene, we'll be acting without authorization from Earth Command. We could start an interstellar incident." "With respect, Captain," spoke up, "we've been trying to prove to the galaxy that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. Here's our chance to show them what we're really capable of." Pulled up the tactical analysis of the 442 system. The Devourer fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and dozens of smaller attack vessels. Their technology was older than human designs, but proven in countless battles. The Defiance was a single exploration vessel, armed for self-defense, but not built for combat against an entire fleet. "The smart play is to report this to Earth Command and let the proper authorities handle it," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Captain," her science officer, Doctor, interrupted. "I'm detecting massive quantum fluctuations from the station's position. If the Devourers are using their standard tactics, they'll begin harvesting the station's population within the hour. They don't have that long." Another transmission came through, this time clearly from a child. "Please, someone help us. The dark ships are everywhere. Mama says to hide, but there's nowhere to go. I'm scared. Why won't anyone help us?" The bridge fell silent again, closed her eyes, thinking of her own daughter back on Earth. She thought of every human parent who had ever looked at their child and sworn to protect them from the monsters in the dark. "All right, people," she said, opening her eyes with new resolve. "Signal the engine room. Tell them to prepare for combat acceleration. Helm, set course for 442 maximum velocity." "Ma'am, at full burn, we can reach the system in 18 hours, the helmsman reported. "Too long," muttered. "Engineering, prepare for emergency jump protocol. I know it's dangerous, but we need to be there now." The emergency jump was a last resort method of faster-than-light travel that could tear a ship apart if performed incorrectly. Human engineers had developed it during the early days of space exploration, when every second counted for survival. "Captain," said carefully, "even if we arrive in time, we're one ship against an entire Devourer fleet. The odds are—" "The odds are exactly what you'd expect when humans get involved," interrupted with a grim smile. "Begin emergency jump sequence and send a message to that station. Tell them help is coming." As the Defiance's engines began to whine with dangerous harmonics, felt the familiar weight of command settle on her shoulders. Humanity had been cast out of galactic civilization for being too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Today, she would show the universe exactly why that reputation existed. The jump drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing apart. The Defiance vanished from normal space, hurtling toward a confrontation that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Behind them, the distress signals continued to echo through the void, carrying the desperate pleas of innocents who had no idea that the monsters they feared were about to meet the monsters the entire galaxy feared even more.